What's the kid's first name?
His name is Rapolis Ivanauskas.
Okay.
Now, he
At first, I thought it was like RuPaulus.
RuPaul. Yeah, no, not even close. He's a transfer from Northwestern, and he is really a big part of Colgate's, a major part of Colgate's success this year, right, Davey?
Right.
I think he's averaging like 16.5 points per game. He's from Barrington, Illinois. So it's not like he's, that would be Greek. Do you think that name sounds Greek to me? What do you think there, Joe Griffo? Sounds Greek to me.
I think you've been drinking some ouzo.
Yeah, I'm on a lot of meds, Joe.
Well, it's good to see you back, and congratulations, Andrew. And speaking of sports,
Thank you.
something for Smitty. I forgot. Smitty made a resolution this year that he wanted more autographs, remember?
He did,
so
yes.
we have some Baseball Hall of Fame autographs thanks to Jim Seward for him.
Wow.
And, to help him with his collections.
That's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. I hope he is very grateful for that. That's a big deal.
I hope the other envelope's for me.
That's very good, Jeff.
No, actually it is. It's the bill.
That would put you in a place you don't want to be.
These things don't come free. So, okay, Joe. Let's start with this bill that since 2003 has come out of the Assembly. And oftentimes what happens is these far left progressives from New York City have no clue as to what's going on upstate. So they come up with these wacky ideas, and there are a lot of them. One of them is that any competitive, even it could be fishing, hunting, deer hunting season. So opening weekend of deer hunting season, whoever gets the largest buck wins the prize. All would become illegal in New York State. This has been in the Assembly every year since 2003. But now with the Democratic-controlled Senate, there's a sister bill sitting in the Senate as well. This could become law.
That is correct. It's in the Environmental Conservation Committee of the Senate at this point in time. Has both Assembly and Senate sponsors, and there's a lot of this that's taking place right now. There's another one that would prohibit gun raffles. For instance, if you have an event and part of your prize was a legal gun, you would be restricted in doing that. So you're going to see a lot of this type of legislation. I don't even call it progressive. This is extreme liberalism.
Yeah,
it's individuals who feel that they're going to impose their will on others. And we try each day. I actually host a Sportsman Day, so that many of our colleagues downstate get an opportunity to experience and get educated.
And even the governor participates, right?
Not really.
Okay,
but,
what is that thing that you guys go up and do? Is it
that's the Adirondack Challenge. That's a good thing to shock that's to promote tourism and outdoor
sports,
recreational activity.
But not hunting. That's more boating.
We bring in the ATVs,
kayaking.
The hunters. We bring in everything. And
nice.
Unfortunately, I don't even think we're going to do that this year because some of the sportsmen feel that there's not a receptivity to that kind of
big sportsman show
experience.
this week. Is it this weekend at the or
I think it is this weekend.
Yeah, the Big East Outdoor and Camping Show.
The
Turning Stone,
which is the Turning Stone this weekend.
So the point is we're trying to educate, trying to get people involved, but you're going to see a lot of these type of bills right now, unfortunately.
My question is, does it have any possibility of passing?
Yes. Yeah, you have not only, if you remember, we talked about this many times here, not only do you have a one-party control right now, but you have one region domination, and there's more of a philosophic perspective, and they don't understand and appreciate sometimes the culture and way of life in different regions of the state. So I think that lack of sensitivity or understanding or appreciation causes this type of legislation to gain momentum and ultimately to see passage potentially.
Based on the current numbers, be completely honest with me, 0 to 100, 0 meaning the lowest, 100 meaning the absolute. The chances that your suggestion that we change the Senate seats, the chances that passes?
Zero.
Yeah. There's no way they're going to give up their jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I had difficulty when the Republicans were in charge. Because remember, you're telling Long Island, for instance, is a good example, who have 9 senators right now that are going to go down to 2. Forget about New York City, where that's obviously there's. In fact, even the press was challenging me, like, how do you justify giving Hamilton County the same amount of representation that you'll give Brooklyn.
Right.
And I say the same way that the United States of America and our framers of the Constitution gave Wyoming 2 U.S. senators in California.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's worked. It's worked for America, so it could work for New York.
Sure.
It would provide immediate geographic balance, more than political balance. People see this as an effort to try to reclaim Republican control. That's a possibility, but on Lewis County, where I will be later tonight, there's a Democratic district attorney. And people think that's a Republican county.
Yeah.
So it's not what you would have is more of a geographic kind of similarity. Even when you have an
well, when you see this hunting is a perfect example.
Exactly. Well,
they don't understand hunters.
You have 3 upstate Democrats right now in the Senate. You have Buffalo, Syracuse, and Albany. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody else is from the city or the island around there.
When I brought up this hunting thing, the story, we did a story on it on Monday, and posted it to Facebook. I immediately from someone up here, a male up here, said, "Why should any hunting just for sport and just to compete in a contest? Why should killing an animal be legal just to win a contest?" And it was very difficult. I tried to explain, and I'm not a hunter, but I grew up in a hunting family. It's not like when you're standing in line at Disney and they tell you about poaching in Africa, right?
Yeah.
It's not like these guys are going out and they're killing a deer, chopping the antlers off, and leaving the deer there. No, there's a respect for the animal. There's a respect for wildlife. And that deer would come back and be prized for the fact that it's going in somebody's refrigerator.
And oh, by the way, in Fayetteville a couple of years ago, they approved the execution of deer because of the overpopulation. Like they brought in the DEC to kill them.
This bill also includes that if there was a contest and a deer or any other animal were injured, it would be law that you would have to rush that animal to a veterinarian. It's in the bill.
A deer!
Joe, is it in the bill? It's in the bill.
I have not studied
It's in the
bill,
bill.
but we have the
My
bill
God,
here.
you're kidding me.
Save that deer!
Yeah. And you could not keep it, so they'd have to forfeit it over to the state. But it would have to be rushed to a veterinarian to try to be saved.
Goodness.
It's in the bill.
What if the deer had a DNR, though?
And let me say this, Joe. You have been warning against this for several years. If we lose control of the Senate, we lose control of some upstate normalcy, and I believe that's happened.
Yeah, particularly with the personalities that have been elected to the Senate. You have some younger members, and they're very aggressive, and they believe, and they're firm believers in some of these issues and have a perspective. And I respect that because we're all going to have differences of opinion. The problem is now they're just going to insist and impose their will across the entire state of New York because they'll have that opportunity. And the question is, the governor actually said this, there's a consequence to elections, and I agree. The problem with the consequence is that the election and the control was determined by one population center.
Yeah.
If this had happened across the state, then I recognize and respect that. But now when you're saying that the will of one area will be imposed upon a diverse state with over 18, 19 million people becomes more challenging and troubling, in my opinion.
And listen, Joe, you hear people talking about how we need to secede from the state. Let's be honest. You're somebody who understands government. You understand the budget. You understand that our schools would be dropping like flies if we didn't have that tax base from downstate.
Look, secession is a popular issue, and it's talked about in a lot of different areas of the country and different states, but it's not the answer.
Yeah.
I really do believe that the proposal that I have submitted actually is the way to achieve that balance, and it's reasonable, and we've proven through history that it works.
Yeah.
So I don't see the states, some are talking about splitting the state into 3 areas.
Yeah.
Others are talking about just outright breaking the 2 states, West New York and New
Which
York.
one of us would be called Mississippi too? I'm wondering.
But I'll tell you, the way when we're looking at some of the policies that the governor and legislature are enacting, sooner or later,
that's what's causing this.
Well, it's causing that, but we may be already the new Amsterdam, Amsterdam in Europe right now, where everything goes.
Speaking of that, New Zealand and the news feed today.
Except for hunting. And the use of plastic bags and large sodas.
Well, you're going to be able. You won't be able.
Or a budget.
Look, the plastic bag thing is a great idea in this sense. If it's an eco-friendly perspective, and I have no problem with that. If we know that it's causing a problem, so let's deal with it. The problem I have is the alternative. So what are you going to provide to people? Provide paper, but now they're going to charge you for that. That's the problem. So we can take an eco-friendly initiative,
I agree
but why don't we provide an alternative, and why do we have to pass costs on to the consumer?
Same issue with the bus cameras. Great idea. So when that stop arm comes out to prevent people from driving through, and a little girl was just, I believe it was a little girl, was just hit by a car.
Yep.
Somebody speeding through. They were busy. Who knows what was going on? But the problem is, Joe, one more time, this is a great idea that's being pushed on school districts. Now, how in the world do they pay for it?
Right. Well, that's a good point. I mean, the idea is something, when we look at some of the problems we're having today in society, and when we talk about public safety and we look at new technology, then we have to incorporate that. We should, though, put funding along with the mandates.
Yeah.
Again, I've had a bill that basically says a moratorium on mandates, a review of all the mandates that exist to see what we can take off with stakeholders involved, not some politicians making those decisions. And then ultimately, when you impose a mandate, and there will be mandates, put the funding with the mandate.
I want to ask you, in the news today, New Zealand is now banning basically semi-automatic weapons. And
they're not stopping there.
In high-capacity magazines, yeah.
Well, let me just say, though, how long before some of these downstate...
Well,
I got to tell you something. You're going to see legislation on additional gun control, and there's no one that's going to be able to block it.
Well, you've seen that already this year with some of the package, and they're bragging about it. And again, I don't think they're going to the core of the issue. When you look at some of the incidents that we've experienced, the biggest neglect is the concentration and focus on mental health and what we should be doing to invest in this in a variety of ways. Yeah, guns are a part of the conversation, culture of violence. You had the rabbi and the imam here talking about tolerance in our society. There's a lot of things that potentially are contributing to what is taking place.
It's the crazy ideology that is causing the murders. They're going to find a way to do it.
Well, it's also,
and maybe we're making it easier. I guess that's the argument. That
but the concern is, you're right. There's the reaction is really on one issue. It's guns right now, and you have some of this extreme liberalism where they believe that there should be no guns, and even societies where you see that right now, you still have random acts of violence and things of that nature. So we have a constitutional amendment here that we still have to respect, and I think it's served again over 200 years. This country. So.
I got about 3 minutes. Mike in Clinton with a question for Senator Joe Griffo. Good morning, Michael. You're on the radio.
Good morning, Mr. Griffo. How many people leave New York compared to the people that move to New York?
A lot. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems, Mike, that we have a big outward migration. We lead the nation in that. I attribute that more to the economic policy, the fiscal policies of the state. We tax too much. They continue to spend too much. That's why we proposed a spending cap on the state, which has not been passed. We were successful in getting a property tax cap put on, but now the discussion is whether or not it should be made permanent because property taxes are extremely high. So we burden businesses and local governments with mandates, businesses with regulations and taxes, and the average citizen of this state. And that's what people are doing. They're leaving the state. So to lead the nation in a number of categories that are very troubling. But the most important thing is there's an outward migration, and that was detailed in the latest census figures.
Mike, thanks. How about marijuana? What's going to happen there?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen right now. I understand the governor.
It looked like it was on a fast path.
Right now, he says anything can happen. Remember, we talked about this before. It's March Madness, not only on the basketball courts, but also in the corridors of the Capitol. And anything could happen in the last 7 days here. The unfortunate thing is we do not have a seat at the table now on these budget negotiations, so we can lend our voices, and we will continue to present perspective on what we think could or should be done. But ultimately, it will be the speaker, the Democrat speaker from New York City, the Democrat majority leader of the Senate from the New York City area, and a Democrat governor who comes from New York City.
I placed my first bet in New York yesterday, and I bet that it will be the Oneida Nation that will be the first to offer Sportsbook. When is it going to happen? I know there's a story out today.
Well, it's 60-day comment period. I think it's going to happen. I think we should have. The struggle in the debate has been what should we do with it. I'm not ultimately opposed, even though I think we should start slow. That was been the problem with legal gaming. We went and there was great proliferation, and now the casinos are in trouble in many cases. So in this case, I don't know that I would go to mobile betting at this point in time. I'd start with the structures.
You online, all the stuff.
Yeah, the online I would prevent right now and see how it goes first at the places. Let them go to both the casinos and the Native American facilities.
Can you hang through the break because you have a few minutes?
I got about 10 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to take every one of those minutes if you don't mind.
Sure.
Because I want to get more into this, and because there's a confusion over when non-Indian casinos will move forward. It looks like Labor Day, but a confusion over when Indian casinos, Native American casinos, can move forward. We'll get a little clarification on that with Senator Joe Griffo coming up. WIBX Utica, Rome. I have Griffo for like 2 more minutes. Joe, quickly, lightning.
Over 180,000 people left New York State last year.
Was that the number?
The statistic. Reed Kinderman just sent it to me.
Native American casinos, no word on when they can begin doing sports betting. Non-Native American looks like Labor Day. Any idea?
I do now, but I believe they have to have that right, and it will mirror what the state does.
Do you think it's going to? Okay, so they won't come earlier. You don't think?
I don't believe so. At this point in time.
I want to ask on marijuana. Will someone, if it does get legalized, will someone who's growing at home, will they be subject to?
It all depends upon what the final bill looks like.
Right.
At this point,
but that's a lot of the stuff that needs to be worked on.
There's a lot that needs to be worked on. Yes.
Okay. I'm watching what's going on in the city of Utica with this budget. 7% increase, nearly 8% increase last year. This year, it's like, wow, we've got all this money. We're going to kick back 2% to the public. That'll be about $20, maybe $50. I think it's like $26 per average household. You're a former mayor. This is exactly how you would do it, right?
No. I do not believe in roller coaster budgeting, and I never did. When we were there, out of the 11 years I was mayor, 8 years we held things stable. I think the key here is, look, you don't want to spend people's money if you don't have to, and you should always try to return money to people and keep taxes lower. The problem, though, when you do this is if you, in a year like this, where if you look at your projections, and I don't know what the projections are, but if next year is going to be a potential problem and a challenge.
You're going to be raising taxes again.
Well, yeah, you don't want to.
And what
raise
about the optics, the fact that this is an election year?
And pierce the cap. That's the one thing that we also want to have them try to avoid. So I think the concern here is that elected officials have to resist, particularly doing it in a campaign year, an election year, that interest to say, well, let's do something this year to keep them down or lower them, and then raise them. I think the county, on the other hand, shows you how it can be done. County Executive Pacenti has kept it level,
how it
kept
should be
consistent, and you don't want roller coaster budgeting.
Jim in Utica has been waiting. I want to squeeze him in, and then we'll get you out of here. James, you're on the radio.
Oh, good morning, gentlemen. Senator Griffo, my question is pertaining to the STAR program, the Enhanced STAR program. This past year was the very first time that I was able to, I was eligible to receive the STAR exemption, and it was actually the Enhanced STAR. Am I required to renew this every year, or am I automatically enrolled in the program? What do I have to do? Do I have to contact Albany again this year? Or?
Jim, do me a favor, because there's a number of things that are changing within the program, and there may be some adjustments even as a result of this budget, unfortunately, because we believe in the STAR program, we actually were the first advocates, the GOP Senate, a long time ago under Governor Pataki. So if you call my office, 793-9072, 793-9072. Ask for Deanna. She can give her all your specifics.
Can you hold on? Grab a pen. I want to write that number down real quick.
I'm gonna put you on hold.
We're going to put you on hold. And
Davey's going to give it to you.
That number again.
Jim, sit tight. Davey's going to take care of you. We'll get it to you, Davey.
Robert Kraft has that number.
I'm going to go with. I have a national John Decker, who's an attorney with Fox News. He's coming on the air to talk about this thing between Kellyanne Conway and her husband and the president. Could you imagine if Deanna, if her husband was out, he's out setting up the concerts and all of that. Griffo's a slime. What a dirtbag. He's unstable. How would Deanna handle that in your office? It would be crazy, right?
It's very strange to see what's taking place.
Have you ever seen anything like it? It is crazy. All right, Joseph, you have to go.
Take care, everyone.
Senator Joe Griffo, we appreciate it. Just make sure Davey has that phone number, Joe, if you would. And pretty cool. And thank you, Joe.